Here's a disclaimer. Don't listen to anything I say about how to do calligraphy because I really don't know. I'm not a calligrapher. I write calligraphically, but I sort of try to make my calligraphic lettering script look like it was not done by a professional, but by someone with interesting handwriting. And the difference is handwriting is less perfect. And I'm lazy, so I am happy to do sort of what I do rather than learning how to do it correctly. These days, I do more drawing than I do calligraphy in the first place, so I shouldn't really be pretending to know what I'm doing here. But I can still give you some advice, I hope. I hope you'll take it you'll take my 2 cents with a grain of salt. Here's my 2 pennies, and here's this dump truck full of salt that you're going to be adding to the information I'm giving you. How do I even begin to tell you something else? I had mentioned earlier to use to learn to be very light with the pen. Just try to make the weight of the pen make a line. Here the pen's weight is making a line. I'm not pressing down at all on it, and it's just the weight of the pen. But sometimes the pen is too heavy, so to lift up on the pen is good to make that fine line. To press down on the pen, know how far you can press so you don't press too far, and play with that range that you've got. You know, you have a Maserati or a Ferrari in your hand. Yes, you can go up and down the driveway. Yes, you can go around the block, but take it out on the highway. Make it do the full range, if you can, and then try to use that full range in your own handwriting. My experience with teaching people how to use a pen isn't so much to teach them how to do calligraphy, but to teach them to write using their own handwriting, but by using a fountain pen rather than a ballpoint or a felt tip. You are able to actually write more beautifully, even if you don't change the shape of your letter. If you make a B like that, that's the way you make a B, you can learn to make that B like that, where there's a thick line and a thin line by using a fountain pen. If you make your B like this, if that's how you make your B, you can make it, using a fountain pen to get more variety. You can also learn to make a B like this if you want. That takes more time, and if you want to spend that time doing that, you're welcome to do that. But for me, it's mainly trying to come up with exercises where you who don't want to learn calligraphy but want to make your handwriting beautiful, you can, here's a couple of tips. As I had mentioned earlier, you can, learn to write with the finest line you possibly can. And an easy way to learn how to do that is to write really big, like 3 or 4 times larger than you normally do, just to get in the idea of moving your entire arm, not just your fingers, because it's really hard to, if you're only writing in this amount of space, it's sort of hard to get that really, really fine line. But if you're writing in this much space and you're moving your entire arm, it's actually easier. So that's a good way to start, just by writing 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times larger than you normally write, to get to practice on your light upstrokes and to practice on your shaded downstrokes. It's like driving your Ferrari on the highway. You can't, on your driveway, unless you have a really, really long driveway, you're not able to get to 60 miles an hour on your driveway. You might get to 6 miles an hour before you have to stop and look and turn and things like that. So take it out on the highway, and that's by writing big. Just this is a crappy notebook, Enjoy the Journey, that I got at Target for $3, but it has really, really nice, smooth paper. And has these really pretty little flowers on it and all that other kind of stuff, which you can ignore, I hope, or you can embrace. You can say, oh, I'm going to write really pretty things. But the paper is really, really smooth. And paper is really important. You can have the most beautiful pen in the world and you can write on shitty paper and it's going to look awful. And paper you don't have to buy moleskin paper. You don't have to buy Clairefontaine if you don't want to. Target might have some really nice, smooth paper that doesn't bleed. Some paper bleeds. But anyway, write big. And you don't have to write words. Just make circles and ups and downs and backs and forths and sides to sides. And try to, when you're going sideways and when you're going up, lift up on the pen, make a fine line. And when you're pulling it toward you, can you press down. And just learn to press down and lift up. You lift up before you stop before you go up, you start lifting up. Before you press down, you start going down. And that, for example, if you're making that slinky thing, if you're doing this, which is an exercise that we all should do for learning how to write and do calligraphy, keep that thing going, but you don't immediately start pressing down right there. And you don't immediately start lifting up right here. If this is our circle, and the very top of the line is at 12 o'clock and the bottom is at 6 o'clock, when you go up, you can start pressing down maybe at 11 o'clock, and then you start lifting up maybe at 7. So it's really only in that amount that you press down. Because if you go up here and you start pressing down immediately at the top, first of all, you're probably going to splatter ink because it's still going sideways. The pen is going more sideways than it is coming down. So sort of wait until the pen actually starts going down. So press up, from there to there. So, and when you're going back up, try to lift up. When you're going uphill, try to be as light as you can all the way along that thing. You know, I'm trying to sort of apply pressure going up. Anyway, write 5 times bigger than you normally write. Yeah, you're going to ruin a lot of paper. You're going to use up a lot of ink, but you're going to loosen your muscles, and hopefully your brain will learn to function with this expanded scale. You don't have to use a flexible nibbed pen. Any fountain pen, if it's really, really hard and doesn't move at all, any fountain pen is better than a ballpoint pen. And you can learn from any, you don't need a flexible nib. It's just that a flexible nib is easy to tell when you're pressing down and when you're lifting up, because there's a difference in the line thickness. But you can use a pencil, you can even use a ballpoint pen to do this exercise, but I'd rather have you use a fountain pen. Let's see, what kind of nib is this? This is a very firm nib, but even this firm nib, I'm able to get variety of line. I'm really pressing down a lot, and it is splaying just the little tiniest bit. But pressing down is easier than not pressing down. Not pressing down. It's the light touch that you really have to sort of practice and learn to do. And remember to do it when you actually start writing words. Now, that's really tough when you actually have to write words, because the words have letters in them, and the letters have to be in a certain order, and they have to look like the letter for people to be able to read what letter it is. So your brain is doing all sorts of things. Any. That's what it's supposed to say, any. And you can see my thin lines. They're not nearly as thin as this. So I have to practice. I have to learn how to make the upstroke. And see, I don't know how to do it. My brain is immediately screwing up here. Usually when I do calligraphy, when I'm doing calligraphic work, if I'm addressing an envelope, let's say the envelope is going to say Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 1 Western Avenue, Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, the letters I'm going to actually use shading calligraphic lines with are the M, S, W, A, maybe the T, the TH, the B, maybe the T, the Massachusetts, ETTS, SHUTTT, maybe the TT. Maybe those are the only shaded letters I'm going to have. The rest of them are small letters, and I'm going to do them lightly. So, Mr., there's the M. Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So, M, S, T, H. 1 Western Avenue. W, T, A. Boston. H, T, T. So it looks beautiful, kind of, or a mess, depending. People say, how's the mailman going to get this there? Well, the mailman does. So again, only the downstroke, only the last stroke of the M and the T. Now I could have calligraphed this the hard way, where every downstroke is made thick, and it would take me like an hour. No, it would take me a long time. Mr. and Mrs. Smith. 1 ERN new ETTS 02111. Okay, so let's say you got 2 letters in the mail. This one and this one. This one or this one. Which party do you want to go to? This one, right? This is going to have an open bar and naked waiters at it and waitresses, if you like that kind of stuff. This one, you're going to have to pay for your drinks. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a really boring party with lots of really boring speeches. Fun, boring. No, I shouldn't say that. There's sometimes I do have to do this kind of lettering, and though I don't like it because it takes a lot longer, but I usually try. I say, can you please let me have fun with some of these letters? And most of the time I can convince them to do that. But for me, if I'm making these really thick downstrokes and I'm writing very small like this, it's very hard for me to go back to thin. Come on, pen. Mr. and see, I can't even do it. I don't know, my brain isn't allowing it to happen. If I'm writing big like this or fast, I can get thin lines. So for me, the speed is really, really important for creating those thin lines. Now, I might be able to find a nib that's really, really sharp, really, really fine, prickly fine, and I might be able to get those fine lines while writing small. But it's less fun for me. So if I were, let's say I was in a class and I'm taking notes, and I'm listening to the professor and he's droning on and on and on about trilobites. Trilobites, I don't even know how to spell them. Trilobites and the Precambrian or the whatever Paleozoic time zone of this. I'm droning on and on and on and on. And I'm writing fast because he's a fast lecturer, and I'm not able to move my entire arm because I'll put an elbow into the student next to me. So I'm sort of constricted. I'm sitting in those awful desks. And I've got my books and my thing here and I'm writing away, I'm probably not going to be worrying about calligraphy, but having a fountain pen will still allow me to get some variety of line quality just by accident. It happens by accident. Often when I'm describing or trying to show someone a pen and what it can do, and I show them the thick and thin, and they very carefully, very slowly try to copy this, and I'm watching them think, and their knuckles are white because they're holding the pen so tight, and I say, no, just take a letter. And what? And I said, I'm going to dictate. Try to write down as fast as I'm saying this letter. So, dear sir, John and Betty, and I would like to vote for you for the next election, or whatever the letter is. And when they're trying to keep up with my dictation, they're actually getting some thick and thin automatically, just because they're not thinking about it. They're not trying to do it, but they're doing it automatically because they're not moving their hand. They're not lifting up and pressing down, but they are pulling it closer to them. And by pulling it closer, the distance from here to there is longer than from there to there. If my hand isn't moving, something has to give. And it's the tines. The tines spread automatically when you're pulling it toward you, just because the space is shorter, right? Yeah. I mean, it's also pushing back, and your hand is not completely. I mean, if this was a machine, and I suddenly did that, moved it like this, I would break the nib. But the nib is fighting back, so my fingers are moving a little bit, but because the distance is shortening between those 2 points, the nib is splaying automatically. So you are getting, accidentally, without thinking, you are getting some thick and thin lines automatically. As long as you're not thinking about it. When you think about it, that's when your brain cells get in the way, and they screw you up royally sometimes. So a good lesson for you. I mean, yesterday's lesson was to write really big, which I talked about today. Another thing for you to do, get some nice paper, just paper without lines, maybe even. Just have it be as free and unrestricting as you can possibly make it. Set your book paper down on the table, fill your pen with ink, turn on the news, or listen to the TV or something. And if you're maybe just when a commercial comes on where you don't really care about, it's not part of the plot, you're not listening to the movie dialogue, there's just words coming out at you about buying this kind of detergent or that kind of toothpaste, and just copy what they're saying. Use Crest and try to write as fast as you can, and just doing that for 15 minutes will get your hand and your nib in the same zone. And you won't be able to read any of it, probably, because it's going to be messy and it's going to be fast. But you're going to get your hand and your pen talking to each other. And you're going to look at the end of the day, when you're done with that commercial or done with that piece of paper, you're going to see thick and thin lines all over the place. But if before that, if on this page, the page before that, you actually carefully copied down a sentence that you found in a book. This is the looser, goosier page is going to look more fun. It's going to be, it'll look, you won't be able to read it. I don't care about that. I'm not talking about legibility here. I'm just talking about you learning to get in the flow of moving your hand and seeing what the pen can do naturally without you thinking about it. So, how's that for an idea? Try to write as fast as you can. Now, if you used lined paper for this dictation exercise, you can do that, but anything that sort of restricts you, like lines, might get in the way of what I'm thinking is going to be the fun exercise. This is really the only way I know how to teach. Other people would say you have to learn how to make these circles, and then when you get that perfect, then you can make a different shape, and then when you get that perfect, you can combine the two. That's perfectly fine too, if you want to be a calligrapher. If you want to learn how to use your own handwriting and just learn to make it look more beautiful, I think my exercise might be a good one. Or I might be wrong. I don't know. A friend of mine used to tell me that I would be a horrible calligrapher teacher, but then he came to one of my, quote, classes. It was just a little casual workshop I had with my neighbors in my building. Every Wednesday we'd just meet in the lobby, and I'd put up a table or two, and we'd just sit and we'd gossip and we'd practice our letters. And someone would say, well, Pierre, how do you make because they would forget, they hadn't done cursive in ever. How do you make a capital B? Well, you can make it like this, or you can make it like this, or you can make it like that. Oh yeah, now I remember. And we would just have fun writing. And I don't know whether people learned anything by doing it, but we had fun. And anyway, this friend that was telling me I was doing it all wrong, that I should be doing, standardized things, and then they would build on this perfect vocabulary. He said, well, I see what you're doing, and it's good. You're doing it for that audience, for the audience of mainly artists who just were having fun with the pen, making lines with the pen, and that it worked out really well. So, and it was really a fun little thing. So with that, any questions? My friend who often visits me here live, Ms. Marilyn Darling, she has a YouTube channel rather, and she teaches calligraphic lessons in calligraphy, where she will more regulatedly, with more structure. With more structure, she will teach you how to make the shapes and to build this vocabulary of these lines. And so look for her and see what her stuff is like. I think she wouldn't disagree with anything that I just said here. I don't think anything I'm telling you to do would ruin your chances at learning how to do calligraphy correctly, but it's an easy way for you to bond with the pen and to know what it wants. That's what I'm teaching you to do. I'm teaching you how to connect with this particular pen or any particular pen by taking it out on the highway, not driving to the grocery store, not doing anything important, but just taking it out for a spin. I want you tell me something to improve my cursive writing. You want me to do that, huh? Do you want to join me, Luke? Is that what you're asking? Sure. Well, why don't you join me? I'm going to invite you. I don't know if I'm good at this, but I can try. It's been a while since I've done this, and what I'm going to ask you is to show me something you've written, not something you've done as a lesson for calligraphy, but something you've naturally written in script yesterday or the day before, a year ago. I just want to see what your natural handwriting looks like. Some people I know write in a very particular kind of way, and I don't want to change that. I want them to continue to write in that way, but there might be a way of making a suggestion about how to take advantage of a pen. Hello, Luke.
Hello, Pierre. Hello, Pierre.
Hold on, I'm not hearing you well, but I will turn up the volume here. Okay, can I hear you now?
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you now.
I can hear you a little bit. Okay. Let's see.
How can I change the camera into on my
There's
paper?
under settings, if you click on somewhere underneath, it'll say cam mic. Hit that, and there should be a thing that says front or back camera. I don't see anything yet, but it may be taking time to bounce off the satellite. If you want to change it first and come back, that's another option.
How can I do?
I'm gonna leave you. There's a thing on the phone that'll say, or below on my screen at the bottom, it'll say cam mic, stop cam mute.
Yes, I can
Oh, there
hear
you
you
go.
now.
Oh, I think you got it.
Yes.
Okay. So if you can, write a sentence. You're using you're using one of those.
Okay, I try to write.
You're using a dip pen. That'll take a while because you have to keep dipping it, but okay. It's hard to do it when you're holding the camera, isn't it? Sorry about that.
Oh, the ink is dry.
Luke, do you have a pencil or just a regular pen?
Oh, yes.
I just want to see what
Yes,
your
but
handwriting is like normally. Okay. So just write the words, uh, good morning, Pier. How about just how you normally would write? Okay. It's really hard to see because of the light is so bright and the pencil is so small. Okay. Um, and
how
do
can
you have
I
a fountain
improve
pen or
this?
just a dip pen?
That is just a D pen.
You just have the dip pen. Well, then you just have to keep dipping it, which sort of gets in the way, but um, you have very neat and tidy handwriting, that's for sure. So I don't think you'll have a hard time learning how to
Yes.
how to do it again with any fountain pen that has a flexible point. It's just learning how to press down as you're pulling the pen toward you. Um, so and try if you can, rather than moving your fingers, try to move your whole arm. Try to keep your hand, um, the fingers of your hand completely. Yeah, try to hold the pen as tightly as you can with your fingers, and don't move your fingers at all. Just move your arm. It's going to be hard to do,
I
but
try
you
to do.
might enjoy it. So yeah, move your. It is kind of hard, isn't it? Okay. Well, you're you have very neat and tidy handwriting. So using a fountain pen or a dip pen should be, you've got half the battle. So now with the dip pen, try to move. It's going to be hard because you have to keep dipping, but
Yes.
maybe very lightly dip it and see if you can do the whole word good with one stroke. I wonder if I have a dip pen here I can try it with. See if I can do it. It's been so long since I've used one of these pens here. Boy, this is bent. Pardon me, sorry. Does it want to work? Okay, this is a really big dip pen nib, probably like 6 times bigger than the one you got. But well, try to be lighter than that. Try to be very, very light. It's the lightness that I think you need to work on. Just barely touch the paper. Good. And just, pretend you're ice skating and you're on a very slick frozen pond and you're just moving the pen around. And try not to use your fingers. Use then as you're pulling it toward you, just press down with your hand just a little bit. See if that can work for you.
It is quite.
It's hard doing it holding the phone. What you should do, Luke,
Yes.
next time, if you can figure out, get a little tripod or a selfie stick holder, so you can the phone can be suspended above your paper somehow. I need to, Luke. I need to do some work. I just got an email that says they need something from me, so I need to go away. But I'll think of another couple of exercises for you to do, and we'll chat soon, I hope. So I'll see you later. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you. See you later.
Yeah, bye bye.